God's chosen ones. You just shut down what was attacking millions and saved the industry. God's chosen one. This is not a drill. Look up, can you see it? The sky itself has been torn open, dark clouds rolling, lightning rending the heavens, and in that flash, heaven reveals your face. Chosen one, you thought you were just surviving the storm. But tonight, all of heaven confirms your victory has already shifted the earth. This moment is not random. This is the sign you've been waiting for. And if your spirit is trembling right now, it's because heaven is calling your name. Chosen one, stop and listen. Outside your window, the city still glows, cars still run, voices still murmur in the night. But if you listen closely, you will hear another sound. The midnight bell tolling. The bell does more than mark the hour. It is a signal from heaven, because there is a battle being waged right inside the darkness that eyes cannot see. A battle your soul has long felt in every anxiety, in every sleepless night, in every tear you quietly shed. You told yourself it was just the pressure of life. You thought that weariness came from work, from family, from repeated failures. But the truth is that those are only the surface. Deep beneath you are being pulled into an invisible spiritual conflict. The black clouds across tonight's sky are its image lies. Doubt, fear manufactured like endless smoke, covering the souls of millions. And you, without even knowing it, have been placed on that front line. But you are not alone. Because before you were born, the Creator saw this moment. He marked you. He calls you the chosen one. You will not only stand firm in the storm, but you will be the instrument that cancels it. If your heart is beating faster, if your vision suddenly blurs, it is not an accident. It is a sign you have just heard heaven's call. And the prophecy for you begins at this very moment. Part 1. The Invisible War, Chosen One. Have you ever woken in the morning and even before you open your eyes, an invisible weight is pressing on your chest? A nameless sadness, a weariness that seems to have eaten away. Even the dreams you never had the chance to start. You ask yourself, why am I always so exhausted? Why does joy disappear so quickly while worry clings and won't let go? You blame yourself. Maybe I'm weak. Maybe I'm not good enough, not strong enough. But God says, no, my child, you are not weak. You are under attack. Imagine a massive factory running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, not made of steel or machines, but of darkness. Invisible smokestacks belch thick smoke. No one sees it, but everyone breathes it in. And each breath carries fear, doubt, and despair. That is the invisible factory of this world. It does not produce goods, it manufactures deception. It does not sell on the market, it invades the mind. And you, chosen one, have been inhaling that poisonous smoke for years. Do you remember the last time your heart wanted to sing, but after one news item, one comment, one small failure, that joy went out? Do you remember lying down at night with your eyes wide open, your thoughts running in circles like a caged animal? All of that is product of that invisible factory. In the Bible, the Apostle Paul warned us thousands of years ago, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Ephesians 6:12. Chosen one, do you see what you are experiencing is not ordinary stress? It is not merely life being harder. It is a spiritual battle, and you have been standing on that battlefield for a long time without knowing it. There are days when you feel drained of every ounce of strength. You sit at your desk, stare at the screen, but your mind is blank and your heart is heavy. You pass through crowds and feel invisible. You try to pray, but the words won't come. None of those moments are random. They are the result of a production line of darkness, where every second fear is planted, despair is nurtured, and hope is strangled. You have wondered, why do the strong people I know fall? Why do great dreams die young? The answer is in this picture, an entire invisible system built to crush the human soul. But there is one thing the factory of darkness never counted on you. Yes, you, chosen one. They did not expect that one day, amid the thick black smoke, a soul would refuse to breathe another poisonous breath. A person would look the storm squarely in the face and say, "Enough. I will no longer be the victim." And when you do that, even with a small prayer and uncompromising decision, a tear offered up to God, that entire production line begins to tremble. Chosen one, remember a recent moment when you felt you were falling to the bottom, but for an instant, a strange peace flooded your heart. You could not explain why. You only knew that even in the dark, you survived. That is not coincidence. That is a sign that heaven intervened. For every tear you have shed is not meaningless. Every wound you carry is not in vain. They have become evidence that you are a living witness in this fight. And God chose you not to be defeated, but to expose that invisible factory to the eyes of the world. As you hear these words, ask yourself, is this why I have suffered so much? Is this the reason for so many years of weariness? If your heart trembles, if your eyes blur, it is because your soul is beginning to see the truth. You are not insane. You are not weak. You have been placed at the center of a spiritual battle, and the exhaustion you've borne is the trace of invisible blows. But listen closely to this. You are not alone, and you are not powerless. You are the reason the darkness trembles. Because when even one person opens their eyes, when one voice speaks the truth, the whole factory of darkness will begin to fall. And today, in this moment, heaven declares, you are that one. You are the chosen one. Part 2. The moment of refusal. Chosen one. Do you remember that night? The night when the sky seemed to explode, thunder roaring as if it would tear the heavens apart, and everything around you felt like it had turned its back on you. A storm not only outside, but raging deep inside your soul. Dark clouds rolled like curtains of nothingness. Lightning cut across the sky, illuminating each heavy drop of rain. And in the howl of the wind, you heard whispers, not from people, but from the darkness itself. Give up. Be silent. Pretend you never saw the truth. Everyone else has bowed their heads. Only you are still resisting. Do you really think you can be different? Those voices struck again and again like invisible lashes across your soul. They wanted you to believe your resistance was meaningless, that your voice went unheard, that your choices would never matter. And then, in an instant, you stood before a choice. In the thick darkness, you could do what most had already done. Close your eyes, stay silent, compromise, pretend you heard nothing. If you bowed your head, the storm would stop targeting you. You could slip back into safety, blend into the crowd, vanish into a false quiet. But something inside you, a flame you didn't know you carried, burst alive. Even though your body trembled and your heart pounded, a voice rose from deep within. Know enough? I will not feed this darkness anymore. And with one refusal, one moment of decision, the impossible began to happen. Picture this inside that invisible factory where the assembly lines of lies never stopped. Lights flickered. Gears screeched and froze. Pipes that had poured out fear went silent. All because one switch was turned off, and that switch was your choice. That storm-dark sky, the moment you spoke, your no seemed to split in two. The black clouds began to crack apart. The lightning no longer threatened, it became a sign. The rain kept falling, but now it was washing, not drowning. Chosen one, you had no idea. But the very moment you refused to compromise an entire generation was rescued. A weary mother in Detroit suddenly felt hope return. An old father in Texas set down his burden and breathed easier. A child in Africa looked into her mother's eyes and saw light again. They don't know your name. They never heard your voice. But your small decision to refuse to serve the darkness became the silent prayer that set them free. You once thought, I'm just trying to survive. But the truth is, you did more than survive. You became the weapon heaven chose to use. Like David before Goliath, you held only one stone. So small, it seemed useless. But when you let it fly in faith, the giant of a nation fell. So it is with you. Your refusal did not only rescue you, it cut the power to the dark machine. It broke the cord strangling millions of souls you've never met. Let your heart take this in. In the moment you said no, heaven was not silently watching. The armies of angels rejoiced. A choir of heaven lifted their voices in song because they knew history had just been rewritten by the decision of one person the world overlooked. Chosen one, do you see the truth? The darkness does not fear you because of human strength. It fears you because you chose truth. And in this world, truth is the only weapon the darkness cannot bear. You may think, but my decision was too small. Just words, just a step. But remember, the Red Sea began to part only when Moses raised his staff. And resurrection morning exploded into light only when a stone rolled away. To human eyes, your act seemed small, but in heaven's eyes, it was the spark of freedom for a generation. And now, as you hear this story again, your soul trembles not from fear, but from recognition. You were used to stop the storm for millions. You did not merely survive an attack. You became the very weapon heaven used to dismantle a machine built to destroy a generation. And if your eyes blur with tears right now, that is not weakness. It is the sign that your soul is being confirmed. What you endured was not wasted. You stood up, you refused, and that decision saved more lives than you ever imagined. So let this prophecy echo inside you. This is your moment of refusal, and this moment has already shaken the foundations of darkness. Part 3, the shockwave of freedom. Chosen one. Do you hear that sound? It is no longer the grinding machinery of the factory of darkness. It is no longer the roar of invisible storms. Now the sky itself rings with a wave of freedom, a tide that begins in your heart and rolls out across the world. When you said no to the darkness, the tremor did not stop with you. It spread like ripples across a still lake, touching places you've never walked, people you've never met, and changing systems you believed untouchable. Inside high-rise buildings where leaders once bowed to deceit, heads are suddenly lifting. They don't know why, but a courage they never knew they had has begun to burn in them. A CEO who had been bound by pressure and fear of public opinion stands up in a meeting and says, "We will no longer bow to this lie." In an industry gasping for breath where honest voices were squeezed out for decades, a song begins. An artist who seemed to have been silenced forever picks up a guitar and writes a hymn of hope. That song spreads like fire faster than any ad campaign. And in small communities where people have been exhausted by invisible battles, change comes. The neighbor who used to walk with his head down now smiles and greets you. The woman who cried alone in a dark kitchen wipes her tears and tells her child God has never abandoned us. Do you see, chosen one? Your choice did not end at your own doorstep. It breathed a new life into a whole generation. Imagine that wave as a shock. In schools, children once weighed down by fear begin to dream again. In churches, sermons that had run out of breath flare with conviction. In homes, dinners that were once silent now ring with laughter. All of this began from a moment you thought nobody noticed, the moment you refused the darkness. Do you know why the tears fall on your cheek right now? Because your soul is realizing you have become the starting point of a collective miracle. You used to ask, who will hear my voice? Now the answer is, a whole generation is being revived because of your yes, or rather because of your no. When you stood firm, you became a pillar, and from that pillar, waves of freedom radiated. Like when Jericho's walls fell, the trumpet did more than shake stone. It awakened faith in the hearts of thousands of warriors. So your act did more than topple a machine of lies. It woke souls that had slept for too long. Chosen One, pause now and let this image come close to you. A boardroom with empty chairs. Screens go dark, control panels that once blinked now dim. This is where the system of darkness once controlled an entire industry, and now they panic. They ask what just happened. Who cut our power? Outside, a child laughs for the first time in years for no reason at all. A couple holds hands again after months of cold distance. A father rediscovers a dream he had abandoned. That is the shockwave of freedom you set in motion. The Bible records how Peter, bound in prison, was delivered while the church prayed without ceasing. An angel appeared, chains fell away, a door opened. Peter walked out free, and his freedom became proof to the whole community that God still moves. Today, that story is replayed through you. You may not see an angel with your natural eyes, but your decision made the chains fall from millions. Remember this, chosen one. Freedom is never meant for one alone. Every step you take in the light liberates those around you. You have produced a spiritual shock, a tremor, that even the architects of darkness feel. And while they tremble, others raise their heads, breathe in new air, and say, I will stand as well. Your tears now are not only for your own suffering, they fall because you are glimpsing a new world, a world where hope is no longer strangled, where truth rings out again, where souls are free. And it all began with you, with a small decision in the middle of a storm, a decision that became a seismic wave of freedom for a whole generation. Part 4. The Pattern of History. Chosen One, have you ever asked yourself, why must I suffer so much? Why does the darkness seem to aim squarely at me, even when I have nothing in my hands? Let me show you the truth. What is happening to you is not new. It is a sacred pattern that repeats from the beginning of time. And you, yes, you are stepping into that same current of history. Joseph the dreamer cast aside. In Genesis, there is a young man named Joseph. At 17, he dared to speak the dreams God had placed within him. Because of that dream, his brothers grew jealous, threw him into a pit, and sold him into slavery. Imagine Joseph's pain, betrayed by his own family, robbed of his youth, forced far from home, his hands and feet bound. To the world, he was nothing, just an unnamed slave. But God saw differently. In the darkness, God refined Joseph. In time, that dream came true. Joseph rose to become the viceroy of Egypt and saved a nation from famine. Chosen One, do you see yourself there? The dreams you carried, mocked by others, the times you shared your heart and were met with suspicion and betrayal. You thought it was failure. The truth is, like Joseph, you were chosen to be raised high, not only to save yourself, but to rescue many. Moses the child hunted. When Moses was born, Pharaoh ordered every Hebrew boy to be killed. Imagine that darkness trying to destroy the chosen from the crib. Moses survived because his mother placed him in a basket on the Nile. What looked like tragedy was God's providential hand. Moses grew up in the enemy's palace, yet his heart bore a mark from heaven. In God's time, he stood before Pharaoh and declared, "Let my people go." Chosen One, remember the times you were squeezed out, pushed aside, dismissed as a child. You thought it unjust. It was proof you were marked, because darkness always fears those called to liberate. Jesus the King hunted from the cradle. From the moment Jesus was born, King Herod trembled and tried to kill him. A helpless baby unsettled a tyrant, because darkness senses the power growing in a chosen soul. Through his ministry, he was misunderstood, mocked, betrayed, and crucified. Yet the cross the world calls defeat became the gateway to eternal life for humanity. Chosen One, you have been labeled and ridiculed for believing what others do not see. Do not forget you walk the same road the King of Kings walked. If darkness once trembled at an infant in a manger, how much more does it tremble at your soul today? Nelson Mandela, prisoner turned president. Step out of the Bible and into modern history. Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for 27 years. The world thought darkness had won and freedom's voice buried behind bars. But in prison he was formed, and when he emerged, he did not only gain freedom, he became president and led a nation out of apartheid. Chosen one, the years you thought were imprisonment, delay, or forgetfulness may be God's training room. Martin Luther King Jr., a dream that could not be killed. Martin Luther King Jr. was threatened, surveilled, and ultimately assassinated. Yet I have a dream still echoes outlasting death and touching millions of souls. A dream placed by heaven cannot be extinguished by violence or bullets. Chosen one, perhaps you carry a dream that seems impossible. Remember, if it comes from heaven, then even when the world resists, it holds the power to shape a generation. Do you see now, chosen one, from Joseph and Moses, from Jesus to Mandela and Martin Luther King Jr., this pattern does not change. The chosen are always targeted. They are betrayed, rejected, and attacked early. Yet it is those very sufferings that refine them and make them liberators for an entire generation. And today, you are in that same story. You are not alone. You are not lost. You are continuing a sacred line of history. Let the tears fall if they must. For in this moment you recognize all the times you were pressed down, all the wounds that seemed meaningless. They are proof you were chosen, and you are walking the same path as those who changed history. You are not merely a solitary individual. You are part of a story far greater than yourself. The story heaven has been writing through the ages. Part 5. The enemy exposed, chosen one. How long has the darkness made you tremble, with nothing more than threats? How many times have they raised great curtains, making you believe they hold boundless power? But now open your eyes and look closely. The stage curtain has fallen. Imagine a vast stage where those who claim authority sit behind the wings, pulling strings, directing the show. They erect huge effigies, drape them in splendid robes, and speak with thunderous voices, menacing the crowd below. For years, people believed in that play, believing those giants were truly powerful, believing they could not be defeated. Then one day, the rope snapped, and the stage curtain fell. The lights reveal the ones fumbling behind it, trembling people, clumsy hands tangled in ropes, faces stricken when exposed. All the power they once flaunted becomes cheap theater. Chosen one, you once trembled at that booming voice. Now you see it was only an empty loudspeaker. You thought those hands could crush you. In truth, they only pulled strings for a paper puppet. What terrified you all these years turns out to be an illusion carefully staged. Like the enemy at Jericho, the thick walls were not there to protect strength, but to hide weakness inside. And when you spoke truth, that wall cracked. When you stood up, the play could not continue. A reversal is happening where once you saw giants and yourself as dust, now you look back and see they are straw men and you are the living instrument of heaven. You thought you were the victim. The truth is, you were the decisive blow that collapses a fabricated empire. Psalm 37:13 says, "The Lord laughs at the wicked, for he sees that his day is coming." Imagine that heaven does not fret as darkness parades. Heaven laughs at them because God knows their time is finished. And that day has come with your arrival, chosen one. Do you know what they fear most? Not your anger, not your effort. The one thing that makes darkness tremble is the light of truth. Just as cockroaches flee when the light switches on, darkness cannot stand when you choose to step into truth. They quake not because you shout, but because you remain standing. Remember the anxiety that once held you captive, the racing heart, the shallow breath, the mind spinning through. What if? It all came from trusting the stagecraft of darkness. But now, with the curtain down, you realize there is nothing there but weak people pretending to be powerful. From this day forward, instead of anxiety, your heart will beat with confidence. Instead of trembling, your steps will be steady. Because you have seen the truth, the enemy has no power except deception. Hold this image in your mind: an abandoned stage, puppets thrown in a heap, severed ropes, an audience rising, turning away, no longer applauding the old play. This is happening now in the spiritual world around you. Chosen one, you have cried because you thought yourself too small. But today, let those tears become a smile. Let anxiety become assurance. For you have seen the truth: the darkness was never as strong as you believed, and you were never as weak as you were told. Part 6. Your energy is the currency chosen. 1. You once thought money was power. You believed gold and titles and status were what the world fought over. But today, open your eyes and see the truth: your energy that is the real currency. Imagine a vast city stretching to the horizon. Streets, crowded, towers ablaze with light, billboards flickering without end. But if you look deeper, you'll see that city does not run on electricity or oil. It runs on the soul energy of people. Every time you worry, a light bulb glows. Every time you rage, a machine whirs to life. Every time you fix your eyes on the screen and your heart leaps at shocking news, that system receives another surge of power. And you do not know it is your energy that keeps this dark city alive. For centuries, the enemy hid this truth. They made you believe you were small, that you were worthless, while in reality, you are the fuel they crave. Remember how often you felt exhausted, not from labor of the hands, but from a mind drained dry. Nights you tossed and turned, fretting about things beyond your control. Days you were pulled into pointless quarrels. You thought it was ordinary fatigue. The truth is, your energy was being siphoned to feed the system of darkness. Chosen one, stop for a moment and breathe deep. Do you feel the truth bursting inside you? You are not as poor as you thought. You are not as forgotten as you believed. You are sitting on a sacred treasure, and that treasure is your focus, your peace, your spiritual vitality. That is something the enemy can never manufacture. They can only steal it from you. In the material world, you trade money. But in the spiritual realm, your energy is the only currency. When you give your energy to fear, you are paying the bill so darkness can survive. When you give your energy to truth, you are investing in the kingdom of heaven. Every moment you hold steady, every breath kept in peace, that is true wealth. And when you reclaim stewardship of this energy, the whole dark system collapses like a parasite that's lost its host. Do you remember the last time you chose silence over argument? You thought it was a weak moment. In truth, it was when you unplugged from the system. Do you remember when you chose prayer instead of worry? You thought it was a private act. In truth, it made the dark city flicker and lose power. Every time you choose peace, you impoverish the darkness. Every time you focus on what is holy, you pump energy into the kingdom. Jesus said in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." He knows the burden you bear is not only work, it is energy drained by a system of lies. He invites you, give it to me, keep your peace in me. Don't let them keep stealing your life force. Chosen one, do you feel your heart pounding now? It is because you have just realized you are no longer a victim. You are heaven's bank. Every drop of energy you give to God, He turns into a miracle for a generation. Every minute you keep your peace, waves of freedom spread far and wide. Every time you refuse to let your mind be swallowed, a link in that dark city snaps. If your eyes are wet right now, it's because you are seeing your real worth for the first time. You are not depleted. You are not meaningless. You are the sacred energy that heaven has been waiting for you to recover and use rightly. Chosen one, remember this well. The true currency of this world is not gold. It is the energy of the soul. and you hold that treasure in your hands. Part 7. The Ripples of Liberation. Chosen One. When you said no to the darkness, you may have thought it was a small moment, a private decision. But let me show you the ripples of liberation that spread from that act. They have touched lives you have never met in places you have never set foot. In a small apartment in Detroit, a young mother sits in the dark. The electric bill wasn't paid, the lights go out. Her child sleeps, and her heart is heavy with despair. She whispers, "Lord, I have no strength left to go on." But in that very instant, a peace fills the room. No knock on the door, no phone call yet. Something in the air changes. The fear that clung to her loosens. She breathes in, and for the first time in weeks, she whispers, "Maybe I can keep going." Chosen One, do you know what reached her? It was the wave sent by your decision. You refused the darkness, and by doing so, the invisible chains in her life began to break. In a small Texas town, an old man sits alone in a wooden house. He lost his beloved wife and has not prayed for months. His faith feels extinguished. Then one morning, sunlight slips through the window and he finds himself singing. Not a new song, but an old hymn sleeping in his memory. Tears fall, and with each tear his faith returns. Chosen One, what woke him? The same ripple of liberation you started. Your small act revived a spirit thought dead. In Africa, a child sits beside a mother who weeps for lack of food. That day, instead of despair, the mother takes the child's hand and says, "We will not give up. God will make a way." In South America, a poor family burdened by debt shares a simple meal. The father lifts his head and says, "We still have each other, and that alone is a miracle." In Asia, a teenager once thinking of giving up on life feels in the depth of night a strange light, a thought that comes live. You still have purpose. Chosen One. You do not know these people. You have never been there. But your victory echoed outward in invisible waves and touched their hearts. You thought you were fighting alone. The truth is, every step you take in freedom creates a domino effect. Chains fall from you and then from others. You thought your choice of peace was only for you. But when you choose peace, that wave shakes an entire city. You thought your prayers were only personal. But when they are released, they become keys that open prisons for millions. Chosen One, imagine this. A mother smiles again. An old man believes again. A child hopes again, all because you chose not to surrender to the darkness. If your heart trembles and your eyes fill with tears now, it is not weakness. It is because you are seeing the larger picture. Your victory does not stop with you. It has rescued millions of souls. In 1 Samuel 17, when David felled Goliath, not only David was freed, the whole nation of Israel, who had been trembling for days, rose up and shouted and fought. A personal victory became a collective miracle. So it is with your decision, small in your eyes, the Goliath fall for this generation. Chosen One, you no longer need to ask, "Does my suffering mean anything?" The answer is clear. Your pain has become liberation for countless others. Wipe your tears, but do not stop them from falling. These are no longer tears of despair. They are tears of joy, of gratitude. The tears of a soul that finally sees my victory has become a miracle for the world. Part 8. The Mark on Your Back. Chosen One. Do you hear the silence after the storm? It is not complete peace. It is the quiet of those regrouping, those who failed but refuse to surrender. Know this: when you stand firm, you become a target. Imagine a battlefield where a warrior dares to rise while the army trembles. The enemy sees him and pins a mark. So it is with you when you refuse to help the darkness. An invisible mark appears on your back. The enemy notices and whispers, "That's the one who ruined our plans." Focus everything on them. This is why recently the attacks feel fiercer. This is why temptations come harder. This is why night terrors return. You are no longer an ordinary victim. You are a direct threat. Chosen one, be alert. The Bible warns, be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. 1 Peter 5:8. Darkness will not let you walk easily. It will try everything. It will plant doubt. Are you really chosen? It will feed fear. If you continue, you will lose everything. It will isolate you. No one understands you. You are alone. Those arrows will come not because you are weak, but because you have become the enemy's highest priority. Listen carefully. You are not alone. There is a reason the enemy trembles even as it tries to frighten you. On your back is more than a target. First and foremost, you bear heaven's seal. Before darkness aimed at you, the Lord put a mark upon you and declared, "This one belongs to me." Before the enemy struck, a ring of fire surrounded you. Before you entered, the battle angels took their positions to guard you. I know you feel the enemy prowling. I know you sometimes startle in the night, your heart racing as if someone watches. Don't deny it, that's real. But also remember, if the enemy could reach you, it already would have. The very fact that you still stand is proof. God shelters you. The anxiety you carry is not meant to crush you, but to remind you that you stand on the front line. And when you remember the Almighty shields you, that anxiety becomes vigilance. Psalm 91 says, "You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day. For he will command his angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways." Chosen one, do you hear that? At night when you tremble, an angel stands watch. By day when you feel exposed, an invisible hedge protects you. You cannot see it, but heaven does not sleep. Pressure may increase, but instead of letting it frighten you, treat it as proof of your worth in God's sight. If darkness concentrates its force on you, it means you are a warrior it cannot ignore. And remember, you do not fight in your own strength. You fight in the shadow of the Almighty. With every step you take, darkness may quake, but heaven rejoices. Yes, there is a mark on your back. Yes, you are a target. But that is not the mark of defeat. It is the mark of the chosen. As you move forward, do not let anxiety make you hesitate. Let this truth steady you. You are covered by the one who conquered death, opened the tomb, and triumphed over every power. The enemy may lurk, but the Lord stands between you and them. Part 9. The authority you carry, chosen. 1. You have walked through the storm. You have faced the lies. You have endured the attacks. But now, lift your head. Look, the space around you is shining. This is no longer the enemy's stage. This is the holy sanctuary of heaven, where crowns and stars glitter waiting for you. Imagine stepping into a vast room with no walls and no ceiling, only light. The light is so bright, every wound on you begins to fade, every fear dissolves. Above, the stars sparkle, not distant, but close enough to touch. And in the center of that room, a crown is lifted up, not of gold or silver, but of pure light. And a voice from on high declares, "This is the authority I give you." Chosen one, hear this clearly. You are more than a survivor. You are more than a witness. You carry authority. This power does not come from degrees or social standing. It comes from the one who called you. When you speak, the atmosphere shifts. When you pray, chains tremble. When you walk, light floods places previously covered by darkness. You think yourself small, but the atmosphere listens when you speak. That crown is not mere decoration. It is the sign of kingly authority you bear in the Spirit. The Bible says we are a chosen race, a royal priesthood. 1 Peter 2:9. That means you are not a beggar. You are not a victim. You are a prince or princess in the kingdom of heaven. When you put on that crown, darkness sees and trembles, not because of your face, but because heaven's mark shines on you. Have you ever entered a room heavy with tension and found that when you quietly sat down, the air softened? That was not coincidence. That was the authority you carry. Have you ever prayed for a friend and watched them breathe easier soon after? That was not your clever words, that was power flowing through you. Every time you choose light over darkness, you reshape the space around you. You have the ability to rewrite the atmosphere from fear to peace, from despair to hope. Let this truth sink deep. You are not merely surviving day by day. You are reigning with the King of Kings. Each step you take is a declaration light has come to this place. If your heart quickens and your eyes fill now, it is because you are recognizing your true strength. Yes, you passed through dark days. Yes, you once felt worthless. But today, heaven reminds you every tear, every wound, every night of darkness was preparation for you to carry this crown. Be proud not because of your skill, but because you were chosen. Be grateful not for an easy road, but because the hard road forged you into a powerful instrument. Ephesians 2:6 says, "He raised us up with him and seated us with him in the heavenly places." That means even now in the Spirit, you sit with Christ on the throne, sharing authority to rule, to free, and to change atmospheres. Chosen one, place your hand on your chest and whisper, "I carry heaven's authority. I can change the atmosphere. I have been given a crown of light. If tears fall, now let them. These are no longer tears of fear. They are tears of gratitude and holy pride. You have received a new strength, and that strength will change the world around you." Part 10. The mobilization of the chosen one. You rose. You refused the darkness. You have seen the authority placed on you. Now lift your eyes and look farther. You are not alone. From every corner of the earth, other chosen ones are rising too, and this moment is a sacred mobilization. Imagine this. In Africa, a circle of believers kneels in a small village, their prayers echoing into the night. In Asia, young people clutch Bibles, their eyes bright, deciding to live differently within a world of lies. In Europe, in ancient churches, candles are lit again, rekindling faith once thought dead. In the Americas, communities once divided now take hands and sing a song of victory. Do you see, chosen one? Your action did not save only a few souls. It sparked a global movement. This call is not aimed at you alone. It is sweeping across millions, those who have suffered, who have been deceived, who once felt worthless. Now they hear the same whisper. You too are chosen. Rise. Like torches passed hand to hand, a sea of light is forming that cannot be snuffed out. Remember the loneliness you felt when you fought alone. Look around now, brothers and sisters stand beside you from every nation, every language, every skin tone. Together they shout, "We are free. We belong to a kingdom that cannot be shaken." This shout is no ordinary concert or protest. It is a symphony of liberation, each voice adding to a choir so vast it reaches the heavens. Chosen one, now is the time to connect. Tell your story, for it may ignite someone who is lost. Reach out your hand to the one beside you, for they need the warmth of the flame you carry. Stand in community, because a single flame can be blown out. A sea of flames cannot. When you spread this light through words, through deeds, with every step you help build a global network of the chosen. The Bible says one may chase 1,000, two put 10,000 to flight. Deuteronomy 32:30. That means you are powerful alone, but multiplied together your strength grows exponentially. And now heaven is mobilizing not one, but millions. A sacred army forms not with steel, but with prayer, truth, and love. Imagine a vast square where millions lift hands at once, not to honor a person, but to give glory to the one who freed them. Their joined light forms a brilliant dome that covers the earth. The darkness sees and trembles because it knows when the chosen stand in unity, its counterfeit kingdom has no place left. Chosen one, let your heart quicken. Let joy fill you as you realize you are no longer a solitary warrior. You are part of an immense host, the chosen rising together, connecting and rewriting the story of this world. Be proud, be grateful, be ready, for from this day forward we are not only individuals set free, we are a mobilized community sent to change a generation. Chosen one. Close your eyes for a moment. You are no longer in the familiar room. You no longer hear the world's clamor. Instead, you stand within a holy space light, covering you from foot to crown. This light does not blind, it reveals. It shines into each wound, each scar, each dried tear. And in that light you sense a step approaching. A hand rests on your shoulder, warm, steady, unshaken. And an ageless voice whispers into your spirit, "You are not forgotten, you are chosen." At once, every burden begins to fall away. All the lies that chased you, you are useless, you are abandoned, you do not matter, melt like wax before flame. In their place, a gentle peace flows in, like cool water refreshing a parched heart, like new breath filling lungs and reviving dreams you thought dead. And you know you can trust, not in your own strength, but in the one who marked you, who called you by name, who lays his hand upon your shoulder right now. Chosen one, hear and carve this into your soul. You are not forgotten, you are not meaningless, you are not just a number in a crowd. You are God's holy instrument. You are living proof that darkness cannot defeat light. You are the voice a generation waits to hear. You are not forgotten, you are chosen. As you leave this sacred space, keep this last image light surrounds you. God's hand remains on your shoulder, and on his lips is a tender smile. He looks at you and declares, "You are mine, you are chosen, and I will be with you to the end." Chosen one, let the tears fall. But this time, let them be not of sorrow, but because you finally believe you are not abandoned, you are chosen. And you are the holy instrument God uses to change the world.